Welcome to The Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something that can be, well, really confusing for a lot of people. We're talking about physical activity and migraine management.
Such a tricky relationship.
It is, because the sources you sent over, they paint this perfect whittle. On one hand, exercise is this amazing drug-free way to prevent attacks.
Right.
But on the other, it's a known trigger. It can be the one thing that sets off a really debilitating attack. So our mission today is pretty ambitious. We're taking all this clinical research on prevention, on triggers, on gentle movement for when you're in pain, and we're going to try and boil it all down.
Into a plan that you can actually use.
Exactly. How do you get all the benefits while, aggressively avoiding the risks? So let's unpack what the science really says about finding that sweet spot.
That's a great way to frame it, because at its core, migraine is really a disease of sensory processing. Your brain is just hyper-responsive to any kind of change, inside or out.
And exercise is a huge change.
A massive one. Think about it. Your heart rate, your blood pressure. Those physiological demands can either gently stabilize that sensitive system, or if they're too sudden or just too much.
It pushes it right over the edge.
Pushes it right over. When we look at all the sources, the difference between something helping you and something hurting you, it really boils down to two things: preparation and dose.
Preparation and dose.
Yep. And we're going to give you the exact prescription for prevention that science backs up.
Yeah.
And we'll also have to talk about that pretty sobering statistic that up to 38% of people with migraine report exercise-triggered attacks.
And what to do so you're not in that group.
Exactly.
Okay, let's start with the good news, because thankfully there's a lot of it. The core finding across multiple studies is that regular, mild to moderate aerobic exercise, it's proven to reduce how often you get migraines.
And not just how often. It lessens the intensity, shortens how long they last, and just generally reduces the disability that comes with them.
Right, and if you're looking for motivation to get started, the flip side is also true, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Large population studies confirm it. People who report low levels of physical activity, they have a much higher prevalence and frequency of migraine attacks.
So sitting around isn't neutral, it's actually a risk factor.
It's an independent risk factor. A sedentary lifestyle is actively working against you.
So the data is clear. Movement is medicine. But this isn't about, suddenly deciding to run a marathon. We need to figure out the right dose. What is the actual prescription?
The key words are consistency and moderation. We have what's called a grade B recommendation, which is strong clinical support for moderate intensity, continuous aerobic exercise.
Okay, so what does that look like in a week?
It's quite specific. You should aim for some kind of activity at least 3 times a week, and each session should be between 30 and 50 minutes long.
And that includes the warm-up and cool-down.
Yes, that whole window, 30 to 50 minutes.
That feels manageable. But what I found fascinating in the sources was this idea of a cumulative dose. It's not just about 1 week, is it?
No, exactly. That's how you really change the nervous system's baseline. To see the full preventative benefits, the clinical trials suggest you should aim for a total of at least 900 minutes over about a 10 to 12-week period.
Wow, so that really highlights that this is a long-term strategy. It's not a quick fix.
It's a baseline adjustment. You're retraining your system.
Okay, and this is crucial. How do we define moderate intensity? Because that's going to be different for everyone. If I don't have a heart rate monitor, what should it feel like?
It should feel like a brisk walk or maybe a light jog. Clinically, we use the Borg scale of perceived exertion, and the target is a 13 to 16.
And what does that mean for me, just out on a walk?
It means you're definitely working, you're breathing a bit heavier, maybe breaking a sweat, but, and this is the key, you should still be able to hold a conversation.
It might be a little strained, but you're not gasping for air.
Exactly. You're not gasping. That's the sweet spot.
Okay, that makes it so much clearer. So, sustainable effort, consistent frequency. The sources mention things like cycling, swimming, walking. I'm guessing the best one is just the one you'll actually do.
That is the single most important factor. If you hate it, you won't stick with it for 10 weeks. Choose something you enjoy that keeps you in that moderate zone.
So let's talk about the how. What's actually happening in the brain? How does this moderate activity act like a preventative medicine?
Well, it's not just one thing. It's more like a physiological cocktail. The simplest explanation is the release of natural painkillers, like endorphins.
I think we all heard of that one.
Right. But when we look deeper, the sources show researchers are also seeing higher levels of endocannabinoids and beta endorphins in the blood after this kind of exercise.
Wait, endocannabinoids, that sounds like the body's own, like, built-in calming system.
That's precisely what it is. Remember, migraine is a hypersensitive system. These chemicals, the endorphins, the endocannabinoids, they help regulate everything and just generally lower the excitability of your central nervous system.
So consistent, moderate exercise is like giving your body a steady supply of its own stabilizing drugs.
That's a perfect way to put it. You're not just fighting symptoms, you're conditioning the whole system to be less volatile.
If someone is just starting this, how long should they give it before they decide if it's working for them?
You need to give it time.
Oh.
Based on the studies, you should commit to that 3 times a week schedule for at least 6 weeks.
6 weeks minimum.
That's the minimum test period to really see if it's having a beneficial effect. I know it's hard to wait, but the brain needs that consistency to adapt.
6 weeks is the target. Okay, now we have to flip the script, because this is where the conversation gets really hard. For a lot of people listening, this idea of exercise as a pain reliever is just infuriating, because for them, exercise is what causes the pain.
And we have to acknowledge that reality. It's very real. Up to 38% of people with migraine report exercise-triggered attacks.
And the most startling stat for me was that more than half of them, 54%, just quit the sport or activity altogether.
They stop. Yeah. And you can't blame them. It's a huge loss of a potential therapy, but it's a natural reaction.
Absolutely. If something hurts you, you stop. But the paradox, like you said, isn't that exercise is good or bad. It's all about the context, the dose.
Right. What turns that preventative activity into a trigger? It almost always comes down to mistakes in preparation, things that destabilize your system.
What are the big ones?
Okay, there are 4 main failures. First, sudden change. Starting a workout with no warm-up or jumping straight into high-intensity intervals. That creates this abrupt, huge demand for oxygen.
It's a shock to the system.
A total shock. Second, fuel failure. Not eating properly beforehand it's catastrophic for someone with migraine. Low blood sugar is a known trigger all by itself.
And then you add exercise on top.
You're just pouring gasoline on the fire.
Yeah.
And third is dehydration. It sounds so simple, but not having enough fluids creates vascular stress, and that can easily set off an attack.
Okay, so suddenness, fuel, and hydration. What's the fourth one?
The fourth failure is intensity and infrequency. Strenuous, infrequent, or really competitive activity is just exponentially riskier than that moderate dose we talked about.
Right. And people who try to do too much at once.
That's the recipe for disaster. Starting a new, really tough fitness program at the same time as a strict diet. It's high output, low fuel. It's a physiological overload.
That makes the triggers feel less random and more, like, predictable. But there's a fascinating bit of research about people who are prone to these attacks. It had to do with neck pain.
Yes, this is a huge clue for you if you're trying to figure out your own risk profile. The research found that people who get exercise-triggered migraines are way more likely to report neck pain as the very first symptom of their normal everyday attacks.
The numbers were staggering. It was something like 33% of the exercise-triggered group reported neck pain first versus only 14% of the others.
It's a massive difference. And it suggests there might be a distinct, maybe a cervicogenic, a neck-related component to their migraine. If neck tension is your first warning sign, you need to be extra careful with exercise.
So how do you manage that risk if you're trying to stick to the plan?
It's all about controlled transitions. A proper warm-up is non-negotiable. 5 to 15 minutes of just light activity like easy walking. And the cool down is just as important.
To ease the system back down.
Exactly. And beyond that, you want to avoid activities with rapid body rotations or sudden head movements.
So maybe not certain yoga flows or complex weightlifting.
Right. Or anything with high-impact jarring, which
Yeah.
can strain those sensitive neck muscles. And of course, the absolute #1 safety tip from all the sources is unanimous on this.
What's that?
If a headache starts during exercise, you do not push through it. You stop immediately.
Okay, and we absolutely have to pause here for the urgent medical alert, because while most of these headaches are typical migraines, the sources are very clear that some symptoms mean you need to get help right away.
Absolutely. This is the difference between a benign, primary exertion headache and a secondary one, which could be life-threatening.
And the key symptom is a thunderclap headache.
Yes. A thunderclap headache means the pain goes from 0 to its absolute maximum severity in seconds, or maybe a minute or two. If that happens, especially with vomiting, double vision, or a stiff neck, you need to seek emergency medical care.
What are they trying to rule out in that situation?
They're looking for dangerous underlying causes. It could be a subarachnoid hemorrhage, which is bleeding in the brain, a tumor, or other serious vascular problems. It's rare, but the only way to know for sure is to get checked out.
That is vital context. Okay, let's pivot to the other side of movement. What if an attack has already started? Vigorous exercises out. What can you do?
The goal shifts completely. It's no longer about prevention. It's about relaxation and calming your whole system down. Gentle, body-focused techniques can really help manage the pain.
What does the research recommend for that kind of immediate relief?
Paced, mindful breathing, sometimes called pranayama, is at the top of the list.
Just focusing on the breath.
Just deep, slow breathing. It actively reduces your overall stress, it slows your heart rate, lowers blood pressure, and it calms that fight-or-flight nervous system. It directly reduces the throbbing.
Even for just a couple of minutes.
Even for 2 to 5 minutes, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
And beyond breathing, gentle stretching is crucial because it targets that core tension we talked about in the neck and back.
Okay, so what are the best, safest stretches when your head is already hurting?
You want really gentle release poses, a simple side neck bend, just letting your ears slowly fall toward your shoulder, a seated forward fold, a gentle downward-facing dog, and especially child's pose.
Balasana.
Yes, child's pose is fantastic. It allows for this profound relaxation in a supported, grounded position. It's ideal if you're already in a dark, quiet room. The evidence for yoga in general is really strong.
And there's that counterintuitive mindfulness trick where you're told to actually lean into the pain instead of fighting it.
Yes, it's a form of emotional detachment. Instead of resisting the pain, which just creates more tension, you observe it. You ask yourself, is it sharp? Is it dull? Does it change when I breathe?
The goal is to separate the sensation from the suffering.
Exactly. By reducing that emotional fear response, you can actually lower the perceived intensity of the pain itself.
All of this really reinforces that exercise isn't this one isolated thing. It has to be part of a whole lifestyle approach. The sources kept bringing up the SEEDS framework.
Yes, SEEDS. Sleep, exercise, eat, diary, and stress. It's the whole package.
Right, because if your exercise plan is perfect, but everything else is a mess.
Your efforts might fail.
Yeah.
The other triggers will just cancel out the benefits of the movement.
Let's run through those other letters then, starting with S for sleep. Why is sleep consistency so important?
Sleep is foundational. A migraine brain needs routine, so you have to maintain regular sleep hours, even on the weekends.
No sleeping in to catch up.
It's a huge trigger. Keep naps short, under 30 minutes, and make sure your bedroom is a sanctuary, dark, quiet, cool, and really just for sleep. Inconsistent sleep throws the whole system into chaos.
Okay, next is E for eat. We talked about low blood sugar with exercise, but why is just skipping breakfast so bad?
Again, it's about stability. For a migraine brain, a rapid drop in blood sugar signals metabolic stress. There's a danger signal, and that can directly turn on the pain pathways. So, never skip meals.
And what about caffeine?
Caffeine. The rule is twofold. Limit it to less than 200 milligrams a day, so 1 or 2 cups of coffee. And, more importantly, keep that amount consistent. Caffeine withdrawal is a notorious headache trigger.
Okay, D for diary. This can feel like a chore, but why is it so powerful when we're talking about exercise?
The diary is what turns this from an abstract idea into your own personal data. It's essential. You have to track your exercise, what kind, how long, and how intense it felt.
The RPE scale.
Yes. That data lets you and your doctor see the patterns. Hey, every time I did that intense spin class, I got an attack. But the brisk walks, never. It helps you fine-tune your personal dose.
And finally, the second S for stress.
Stress management is about giving you control over your own nervous system. Things like cognitive behavioral therapy, biofeedback, relaxation techniques, they work hand in hand with exercise to reduce the total strain on your system.
So this deep dive has really crystallized the main lesson for me. Therapeutic exercise works, but it only works when it's prescribed precisely moderate, consistent, no sudden shocks, and when it's part of a whole stable lifestyle.
It's a system designed to stabilize a volatile brain. And our final call to action, of course, is a medical one.
Always talk to a professional.
You must. Before you start or change any treatment, talk to a healthcare professional, especially because there are other headache syndromes that can mimic an exercise-triggered migraine.
Like cardiac cephalalgia. What's the risk there?
It's a rare but very serious syndrome where an exertion headache is actually caused by underlying heart disease, the heart not getting enough oxygen. The headache gets better with rest, so it looks like a migraine, but the cause is cardiac. You have to get that ruled out.
That distinction between intensity and just quitting feels like the most powerful thought to leave you, our listener, with. It's true that a lot of people report attacks from exercise, and over half of them quit their sport.
Mm-hmm.
But the research also suggests that the vast majority of those same people were still able to continue low-intensity exercise without triggering an attack.
Yes.
So this really raises the question, could changing the intensity, calibrating that dose, instead of abandoning the activity entirely, be the single most powerful and sustainable shift in your long-term migraine management? Maybe stop thinking about quitting the activity and start thinking about just recalibrating the engine. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thank you for joining us.